and welcome to Under the Gun. I am Jon Friedberg, your host, and we have had quite the controversial and interesting week in poker. First of all, I am just fresh back from Los Angeles, where I was at the Bicycle Casino last week for Legends of Poker, and also to audition for the WPT Raw Deal. I mentioned in my last show my audition did not go well at all, but I was thinking about it, and you know, one of the things the part that I really messed up on the most was a scripted part where we had to read like a little story thing. And the more I think about it, this part is supposed to be like an analytical part, like sort of a critiquing, hands. But if the script part is an important part of the audition, then that might mean it's a scripted position. If it's a scripted position, then I don't know how authentic the hand, analysis is. So I was a little confused about that. Still not sure what the deal is with that. But anyway, there's a lot of talk going on right now about HR 2267, the legalization of online poker. Commerce, while forming sort of an alliance with every other pretty much major California poker room, Commerce has agreed to be the spokesperson and speak up, saying that they do not think that online poker should be legal. Everyone is now flaming Commerce. Most people don't realize that it's also all these other casinos and probably most brick and mortar poker rooms, across the country, because clearly there's a conflict of interest from a business standpoint. And for those who follow me on Twitter, I've been pretty vocal about it this week, and some people have been flaming what I've been saying, and some people have been sort of praising what I've been saying, because ultimately there are differences of opinions, but we just need to sort of understand that everybody, is generating revenues or business from, different avenues, and some of those companies are generating money from online poker. Some of them might view online poker as a threat, like perhaps Commerce Casino and all the other land-based casinos might be losing revenues over the last few years, or maybe they've been surveying their players, and their players are, more apt to play online because of the convenience of being at home or whatever. So anyway, I just think it's important that we all understand each other's sides here. I also think it's very important that all the casinos and the online poker rooms get together and try to find a way to work together to where everybody benefits. Remember all of the players that the online sites brought to the 2006 World Series main event? That's one example of how the online sites and the live casinos can work together to benefit each other. In other news, my guest on the first show today, my first episode of Under the Gun, Sorel Mitzi, is being scrutinized right now in the forums. There was an alleged chat between him and Thor Ladin. I can't think of Thor Ladin's name off the top of my head, but the two of them were allegedly having an instant message conversation about sort of a staked players scandal, where if any of the players get deep in tournaments, then they can use some sort of VMware type remote PC software to take over the tournaments for them, which is essentially doing the same thing that Sorel had been caught doing a few years ago by buying a seat or buying a person's tournament where they were like chip leader and deep, and he sort of gave the guy a certain amount of money to take over and went on to, I think, win the tournament. Now, in the forums, there's been a lot of talk about this. Sorel himself did not deny any of this. He basically just said that there were various conversations that were fabricated to turn into this. There were a lot of people involved. It's a pretty big controversy, and I have to say I'm pretty disappointed. And you know what? Things like this really make the online poker community look bad. There's really not a whole lot of cheating going on, at least that I am aware of, or at least in my opinion, as to what really goes on. But it's pretty sad that this did happen. And I think when any of these players, like Sorel in particular, when you go into a forum and you sort of say, he basically went onto the forums and said, I don't know you guys an explanation, and I'm not going to hire a PR person, and I don't really care what anybody thinks. And quite honestly, Sorel, you're my friend, and I like you and I respect you, but man, I don't think that's the right approach, and I don't think that's a way to gain any kind of credibility. And ultimately, the credibility does matter, despite whether or not you think it does. So friendly advice, put your ego aside and work with some people to come up with a better response, and let's try to get this thing cleared up. And I'm rooting for you, and hopefully it gets, water under the bridge. But anyway, let me move on to my Under the Gun challenge to give an update on where I stand. Alright, so an update on my Under the Gun challenge to win $100,000 playing in sort of low mid-stakes cash games on UB. In a 25,000 hand month, in the month of August I played 25,000 hands and profited $3,000, which is actually an excellent win rate. And if you look at my my chart here for the whole month, you can see that I'm definitely trending in the right direction. Now, the only problem is, I think if I really am going to win $100,000 in a year, I need to be playing like 50 to 75,000 hands per month. So let's just say that since this month was 25,000 hands, if I triple that, that's a $9,000 profit at this same win rate, which is easily a $100,000 a year just playing 1-2. So I'm definitely headed in the right direction. Very happy with my game. In the last show where I had John Kim on, Nicolak, my cash game mentor, we talked a lot about red line. Well, in the second graph here, you can see exactly where my red line is, and that is the bottom line. Now, mine is at about minus 2,600, which isn't terrible, but if you look at like Nicolak's, or sorry, JK's charts, for example, his red lines are much closer to zero. So if I could just work on improving my no showdown or my non-showdown winnings, which is what the red line is, my green line, the profit, will go up significantly. So I'd say I have probably about $1,000 of extra profit that I could have won this month had it not been for certain non-showdown losses that I could have avoided. Anyway, that said, I'm happy with my progress. Don't know if I'll hit the $100,000 mark, but ultimately that's not really what's most important. What's most important to me is profiting and improving and sharing that experience with you. So with that said, let's move on to my new segment, Am I an Idiot? So send me your hands, please, underthegun@cardplayer.com. Keep those coming in. Alright, so Jacob explains the situation. He was at an Indiana casino, an actual live poker room, and the stack sizes to start the hand, as you can see here, were Jacob had 300, this tight old man that he was playing against had 250, and a big blind who wasn't really too involved with the hand had 450. Now, Jacob explains that his image leading up to this point was pretty aggro. He had gotten caught 3-barrel bluffing with a 5-deuce and had made some other crazy plays. So with this hand, the tight old man limped. 4 other limpers followed behind. Jacob was in the small blind with 3-7 suited and went ahead and called the extra dollar. This is a 1-2 game, by the way. Flop came 10-3-7, so Jacob flops bottom 2 pair. He checked. Big blind bets 10. The tight old man raises to 20. He min raises to 20. Jacob tanks and then re-raises to 75. The original better, the big blind, folds, and the tight old man shoves. Jacob calls with bottom 2, 7-3. The tight old man shows pocket kings. Turn comes the 8 of clubs. River comes a 9 of clubs for the tight old man to make a runner straight, or sorry, runner flush, and the tight old man wins the pot. Jacob asks me, am I an idiot? My answer is absolutely not. You played this hand perfectly, and you trapped the worst hand with 2 pair, and he got lucky. You got all your money in good, very good as a matter of fact. He was dodging a few outs, obviously a king or a 10 or running clubs, and you were in great shape, but you got unlucky. So you're absolutely not an idiot. You played the hand very well, and sounds like you're doing well in that game. So keep it up, and again, keep those hands coming in to underthegun@cardplayer.com. My guest on the show this week is a poker player and instructor. His name is Alex Outhred, and if any of you follow a lot of poker players in the Twitter community, he is very, very active in Twitter, and he's also done quite a bit of poker coaching with several of the different training sites out there, and has also had some live success as well. And Alex is quite the talker, so let me get him on before we run out of time here with this intro. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Outhred. So Alex, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks a lot. You're welcome.
Now, you and I just kind of met pretty recently at the World Series main event, and I'm still trying to figure out if you're a poker player or just a professional Twitter expert. Because you probably tweet more than anybody that I follow. I mean, you probably tweet or retweet, like, I don't know, what's your average, 20 a day?
Oh, more than that, man.
Okay.
Yeah, probably I'd say I probably average 30 a day. Probably average 30 a day.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice.
That's a little more than once an hour. It's not too bad.
So tell me about yourself. I know you've done a lot of poker coaching, some poker playing. I know you had a deep run in the main event a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So tell me about your background a little bit.
It's funny. I was just kind of a regular kid living in L.A. and Hollywood, and I did some odd jobs bartending, and I was a massage therapist there for a little while. It's something that I
At a bar while you're bartending?
At a bar while I was bartending, I massaged patrons. Yeah,
nice.
for quarter tips. I just doing odd jobs and whatnot. Even though I went to University of Michigan, was educated guy, I just didn't know what I wanted to do, and I fell into a job with the World Poker Tour just in production, and doing my job in production over there, I was able to sort of teach myself the game. I sort of saw what I had in front of me, like my office was in the tape room, and I was like, wow, I'm in the vault. Okay, so spent a little extra time and was just exposed to a lot of the commentary from Mike just doing my job and all the cards. So long story short, trained myself up on how to play, and then kind of bumped up within the company. I did them right in a lot of ways, and which kind of brought me to help launch their WPT boot camps. Sat down in Mike Sexton's kitchen for 2 days, picked his brain, turned that brain, whatever I asked him, into a PowerPoint, and just got that whole thing started.
So you wrote the PowerPoint, the script for WPT boot camps?
The original boot camp curriculum. I mean, nowadays it might be something a little off and a little different. I'm sure there's still some, PowerPoint screens that certainly came from me. But, well, yeah, I mean, the idea was they were branding, say, Mike Sexton. His book had come out. They really wanted to have as much of his book kind of come into this camp. Well, his book was a little more story-related, really, than teaching poker-related, but some broad concepts were definitely present. So, yeah, they flew me up here from LA, and I sat in his kitchen, like I said, for 2 days, and just asked questions and picked his brain, and then, collected it all together and put it out there, and it was a great start. So once I just started, really, I just decided to put the blinders on and let's learn as much about poker as we can. And I'm sitting in the studio during their voiceover analysis and taking notes on the takes. Take 1, use the open. Take 5, use the close. In the meantime, I'm hearing him and Vince just break hands down. So just by osmosis, as they like to say, even though that's really just referring to water, I just absorbed all this stuff. And so bit by bit, I started playing more and more and getting out to the casinos in LA a little bit and doing well, and definitely, winning some cash games, winning a couple little tournament, wins, and, well, not wins, but, deep cashes and whatnot. And that's what really got me started. And basically, I bumped up to management with WPT, and they didn't want me kind of leaving early to go teach and do all this other stuff. I really started to enjoy teaching and coaching. I'm a communicator. It's what I do. I talk a lot. I tweet a lot. I just kind of put it out there. I've got a pretty good handle on just kind of processing concepts and then communicating them to a variety of different kind of plateaus of understanding. It's just something I'm good at. And so they didn't want me doing that so much, so eventually I left the offices to just write for WPT Magazine and, let's try playing and teaching. And within 4 months of leaving WPT, I made my own World Poker Tour final table at Mandalay Bay in 2006. Cool. And that's really when the whole kind of thing
Is that the one that Joe Tehan won?
It's one that Joe T.
Joe was actually my guest 2 weeks ago.
Get out of here. He was a really nice guy, man. I mean, God, he got slapped in the face with that deck at that final table. I played like crap at that final table, which was really disappointing because I was chip leader coming in. Not by much. There were 4 of us really close, you know, Yukon Booth and Bert Boutin and whatever. But anyway, you know, if you're asking who am I, how did I get here, that really was kind of the major propellant to me to, you know, hello poker world, I exist. But you know, I never really went nutso and like went on the tour, you know, this and that. I mean, I still had old bills from college and everything else, and so you know, I've always just kind of maintained somewhat of a normal life, but I'll just dip into things here and there, and then I've satellited into a couple of events, and then got staked in a couple things. Had the nice run in 08, 54th in the main event, which was pretty cool, and a little run on Are You Smarter Than the Fifth Grader, which kind of put me a little bit public. Yeah.
Cool.
Made like 420 grand doing that.
Did you really?
Yeah.
On a TV show?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
Pretty sick.
So let me ask you this: you have you've kind of bounced around a little bit from World Poker or WPT boot camps to others to deep stacks. What's the story behind that? Because there's kind of mixed things that are said about it.
Gosh, this whole world is this poker world's so funny, isn't it?
It is, and that's something,
It's like, look, everybody's trying to make a frickin' dollar. You got, you know, from the people that are, you know, chopping the vegetables to the guys making the frickin' menus, man. Everybody's trying to make a gosh damn dollar. So, you know, I worked for the WPT boot camp, and I had a sad separation from them on a misunderstanding, you know, where some material from there was like used by some instructors at a different camp, and there was an assumption that I, you know, took that material, and none of it really happened. There was basically, I was fired on an assumption. It's just so annoying. I hate assumptions. Just ask people questions, dude, you know? So that kind of sucked, and then, you know, there wasn't proper resolution, but we shook hands later, and we're all squashed and good, so just water under the bridge. And then, so I jumped over to WSOP Academy and basically helped them write their first curriculum. So, you know, basically with a lot of consultation with Helmuth and Raymer, I just worked on building their original curriculum, which has since changed over the years as like Andy Duke came in, a few other instructors had their own material, and kind of a similar thing there, you know, some misunderstandings where, you know, when you write a curriculum for multiple instructors, it has to be somewhat broad. And also, if there's a panel of instructors, it's written as a guide. You know, like you've got 40 to 50 people of all sorts of varieties, skill levels, parts of the world, life experiences. Everybody's coming in. If you just feed them all the same cheeseburger, you know, it gets really freaking boring. So what we do is we put this kind of a basic guide out there that there's supposed to be a lead instructor, and that will provoke any thoughts or provoke things where, according to the richness of your panel, people can chime in and bring their own element. One day it'll be TJ there, then it'll be, you know, whoever else, you know, Scott Fishman or whoever the heck. And that's how it was really designed. And my role is like, you know, if somebody's going to pay $1,500 to be learning poker for the weekend, and they've got Greg Raymer and Mark Safe, Andy Duke, and Alex Outhred, well, they better be sold that Alex Outhred's worth his salt, because they know all of these folks. And some folks know me, but not everybody does. So if you put down that money and then you're sitting at my table and you're like, "What? Can I be at the main event winners table?" You know, if you're with me for 5 minutes, you'll know that I'm really freaking good at what I do. I love teaching this game, and I'm really good at teaching like a one-table setting. But I guess some of the pros had taken offense that I was like, kind of preaching my own name a little bit during the intros, like making me sound like I was bigger than I was. There was basically, you know, all this crap of just, you know, like, we're great and who are you stuff, you know, and it just, I don't know the specifics and the details of who's who.
Well, there's a lot of egos and
so many egos, and I'm just so sick of it, man. And it's just, I'm good at what I frickin' do, and that's all I want to do.
I mean, it's, if you think about it, poker's not a team sport, right? It's a bunch of individuals that are looking after themselves. And therefore, a lot of people, a couple of names that you mentioned even, have reputations for sort of talking themselves above others or talking others below them.
Yeah, I mean, right. I even ran into a little bit of Poker VT. I actually helped those guys structure their whole thing. I swear to God. Like, I was like that. You know how they got, like, script writers, where, like, they come in and you hire this guy and he kind of gives you stuff and then, you say brilliant shit and, they get, or ghostwriters, and stuff like that. I was almost like that for Poker VT in the very early stages. And yeah, it's not a team sport, and there's egos, but there's brands, And so what I do, everywhere I've gone, I commit to the brand that I work for. And what happens is you get, owners are dealing with, major poker players coming in, and it's an unbelievable catering that happens to the top elite players. And I'm not, mad at the players or, do what you think. You got your own brand to worry about. I hear you. But, I mean, everybody will bow down to, to the head, poker player honcho. That decisions get made based on what they want to see done. And so, anytime I've sacrificed myself to the brand, the people who run the brand end up sacrificing whatever, integrity they might have towards what kind of, egos ruling the roost at the time. And it's just a darn shame. Now, does the public suffer? Not really, but a little bit, Let's say anybody that loved WSOP Academy suffered because I wasn't there anymore. Because it wasn't working out. I got crap for chiming in too much and offering a perspective when I would interrupt, not interrupting, but I know this stuff so backwards and forward, back of my hand, that if you make a point, you forget to bring up that really matters about position only. And then I said, well, just make sure you are aware that matters for position. Right. Everything I do is in the name of the student. So it's just one of those things where, like, I just want to be able to work in a situation where I can just teach and I can help people out.
Well, but I have one more thing I want to discuss with you. This is more relevant to the poker world.
Sure.
There's a big debacle going on right now with Commerce Casino, and obviously you've read a lot about that. You know about that.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier in the when we were talking that you feel like everyone's trying to make their dollar from the whoever the chef to the cookie cutter.
Exactly. I'm trying to make my own, but at least with integrity, right?
I mean, Commerce kind of is, a lot of people don't know this, but Commerce is speaking on behalf of, like, every major casino in California. And everybody's hating on Commerce now over this, but I mean, it's no secret Steve Wynn doesn't want online poker legalized. None of these big other poker rooms do. Clearly, there's a big difference between who has their vested interest in, various forms of poker.
Right.
The online guys, obviously. The players obviously want to have access to it regardless. The people that own the online sites want it to be legal. The people that own the brick-and-mortar casinos don't. I mean, what?
Yeah, man, it's a big mess, dude. And I think everybody needs to start, that's doing this, needs to start doing this. Because clearly the folks representing the Poker Players Association, and I don't know what's been communicated to these casino owners as groups, and Steve Wynn has his opinion, and Commerce is representing. I don't know if there's ever been a proper panel where, like, the PPA can invite all the casino owners down and, like, hey, here's our perspective, please run with this and help us. I don't know what communication has gone on prior to this with the casino owners asking, as players, if we're the one, hey, support the players, and have the players or people representing them truly express to the casinos properly in a proper forum how we would like their help and here's our perspective, and you've got your businesses, rock and roll, but hey, here we are. I don't know if that's gone down. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. But I'll tell you that, Commerce, when this kind of went down, it became very evident to the general poker player that stays in tune with things on Twitter or on Facebook and stuff like that and just gets their basic news. We're like, holy cow, Commerce is against all this? And it's been all this stuff. I just thought it was really, really stupid to battle these ideas 140 characters at a time. It's way too freaking important. Finally, the person representing Commerce released a statement, which then just got bashed and trashed and all this. I'm just really shocked that this is just so important. How about we all get in the same room, throw out all the ideas and have a forum on it, film it, whatever, and the genius will rise to the top, and we'll see what's what. They're trying to do this claim of, like, save online poker at commerce.casino.commerce. I'm like, come on, really? Like, save online poker?
I like your idea. If we could put everyone in a room together and have I think what the online people are not doing a good enough job of is trying to explain how they can benefit the live venues, right? In 2006, there were, 9,000 something entrants to the World Series main event. Most of that, I don't know the right number, maybe it was 4,000 or 5,000. There was a huge number of that was from online qualifiers. So if the online sites could tell the casinos how they could benefit them, we could create more of like a symbiotic, complementary relationship.
Exactly. I mean, there was a big holdup with all this law stuff and the .nets and the .coms, and it kept people from qualifying for these, brick and mortar events online. It really hurt the casinos, and I'm just shocked that these people, like, with such major interests on both sides, haven't figured out, like, oh shit, we're on the same team. My God, we're on the same team. Let's all make money together. But at the forefront of all of this bullcrap is just allow a human being to play poker, whether it's on their couch or it's at the casino. We need to have the freedom.
Yeah, but now you're talking about freedom. I mean, that's like an opinionated thing, which I obviously agree. The Republicans don't necessarily agree. The hardcore Republicans. It's hard to say, but
it is hard to say. It's just at the end of the day, though. We're talking about just that maybe that is what it is, though. It is that basic fundamental right. And the thing is that the arguments from these casinos they're not battling that. If we're talking that the battle is the online and the thing, well, they're all accepting the freedom part. Like, they should be free to play poker. Just make sure that it makes us money and not them. It's really stupid. So once we're just at least on the thing, like, just don't let your money grubbing stuff get in the way of just people doing what they need to do. The poker players are your bread and butter. No matter where you're online, you're brick and mortar, we are your shit. So I don't understand why you would do anything that would jeopardize the hand that's feeding you. So if the hand that's feeding you wants their frickin' freedom, well, give them their goddamn freedom and then work together to figure out how we can all profit from this shit together. And it goes right back to my early shit with me teaching poker. These people want to learn poker. I want to teach them poker. So let's, under your brand and with everybody's egos, figure out how we can just let me teach and them learn. All right. Let's just commit to that.
Perfect.
Simple, people. It's really freaking simple. So,
Alex Outhred, everybody.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate you got it, man.
Show.
Appreciate it.
Enjoy hearing your insight.
Alex Poker Guy on Twitter, and follow him on Twitter, and then we'll all be friends.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week.